Isn't it kind of funny how physics, the study of everything in the universe and how it works, has also so much philosophy in it? So many questions that can't be answered in the study of finding the answer to everything. One of these questions that is asked is Schrodinger's cat, which asks one of the coolest questions that kinda has an answer. So what is it?
Schrodinger's cat is a thought experiment where a cat is placed in a box with clumps of atoms and a Geiger counter, along with some poison. The idea is, if the atoms decay and radioactive waves are released, the Geiger counter will pick it up, releasing the poison onto the cat and killing it instantly. However, if there is no decay and the Geiger counter picks up nothing, the poison isn't released and the cat lives. The cat can't tamper with the atoms, poison, or Geiger counter, and a 30-minute timer is placed on the experiment. So to recap, a cat is placed on a box for 30 minutes with a completely random chance that it'll either be killed or kept alive. After 30 minutes, Schrodinger enters the room. Now, the question gets asked, is the cat dead or alive? Quantum mechanics argues that it's both, because the cat has entered a superposition in our minds. Superpositions are easy to understand, just paradoxically confusing. It's simple though. When an electron is observed, it is in one specific spot at one specific time. However, when it is unmeasured, it gets put into a superposition. When the electron is in a superposition, it is in every single state at every possible time that it can be, all at the same time. For example, it could be in the room with us right now, or it could be all the way across the world in France. Until it is measured by something that puts it in its place, it will forever be in this position.
So, how does this relate to the cat? To our minds, the cat can be in one or two states. It can either be dead or alive. Because we have zero way to predict what the actual outcome of the cat is, it gets put into a superposition, but only in our heads. This makes the cat both dead and alive all at the same time. But the real question that comes from this experiment is, when does this observation happen? Is it when a human makes it? What about an instrument makes it and we hear that instrument? Or what about the cat? Well, of course the cat knows its outcome, so does the Geiger counter, but what about us? The overall thought experiment is really, when does our reality break from a superposition? And big point on that, our reality. This thought experiment came to be in 1935 when Schrodinger was talking with Einstein about the idea of quantum mechanics. They were discussing the problems were of Copenhagen's quantum mechanics and how everybody didn't really understand what he was saying.
So what does this experiment ask?
This experiment asks, when does our reality break from a superposition? Obviously, there isn't a universal superposition in most cases. If something was happened, then it's going to be known by someone, or some type of measurement or observation will break it from the superposition. However, it won't to everybody's minds. So, when does the superposition break to our conscious?
What about a variant?
It's easy to make a variant of this thought experiment. One would be to flip a coin. If I were to flip a coin and have it land in my hand, putting a random force on the flip, and when it lands, I close my eyes and I cup the coin, it has technically entered a superposition to my conscious. Is it really in a superposition though? No. The camera caught it, and external things probably caught it too. However, if I were to do it off camera, it technically could, as there would be zero measurement done on the coin. However, the second that any of my movements or any external thing that has the ability to change the state of the coin and it hits it, then it would fall into one of the three states that it could be in. The coin could either be heads, tails, or perfectly on its side, although that's really improbable. When I uncup my hand, that superposition will break in my mind and the answer will be revealed to me, all because I'm making that observation. It won't break to the universe because my hand will have swayed it in one way or the other, plus the way I put force onto the coin, and if I looked at it before it landed, then it would never enter a superposition in the first place. But the question isn't when the universe deems it, it's when do we? Because we could also feel on the coin if it's heads or if it's tails. But is that really a measurement and we're not seeing it? Our minds might know what it is, but we don't really know what it is, and our conscious might not be able to tell until after it's observed. So that's where that question comes from. When do we deem it as an observation, and when do we deem that it breaks from its superposition?
What are the applications for this experiment?
There are quite a few applications for this thought experiment. One of my favorite being the many worlds theory. This theory suggests that for every time that we hit a fork in the road in our lives, or in another way of putting it, a superposition in our minds, then reality breaks apart into two different realities, or however many realities that are a logical outcome to that superposition. In easier terms, if a yes or no question is asked, then reality will split into two. One reality being yes, and the other reality being no. Of course, this yes or no question does not bring up a superposition in the first place, but it's good for the explanation. This theory was founded by Hugh Everett in the 1950s. This theory builds on Schrodinger's thought experiment and clears up any of the loose ends in the thought experiment. People use this theory as a way to release things that happen. For example, if someone goes for a job interview and they don't get the job, in their mind, a superposition has been created. And as there is no way for them to predict the outcome, so when they don't get the job, they might think to themselves that in another universe, they did get the job. It works as a coping mechanism, too, to things that they wish happened. Another application to this thought experiment is the idea that nothing is ever set in stone. Because this thought experiment makes us think that outcomes could be all possibilities at once, and until it's observed, then it really is one thing, it can give us hope and keep us optimistic in times when it's very difficult to be. And although this can be a dangerous thing to do, keep in mind it does still work, and it makes things good again. Take example for having a pet go missing. The idea that the pet is found, alive but in the wild, dead, in the hands of someone who's harmful, in the hands of someone who's better, many ideas and possibilities that could happen to the pet, but keeping in mind that any number of these ideas could be happening all at once, a lot of the good outweighing most of the bad, really just thinking more about all of the good ones, it makes us feel better because we don't really know until we see it. It gives us hope that good things will happen. This method could trick the mind pretty well in desperate situations and can make people find a lot of help, and really when they need it.
As I have discussed, this thought experiment is really cool. It takes ideas from quantum physics and turns them philosophical. Hopefully this video helped you realize just how cool it all is. And who knows, you might like it and hate it at the same time.